I remember sitting there with my coffee listening to this call come in, and the very first words hit me like a truck. Me and my husband, we have a debt of $562,000. And I thought, okay, big number. But then she added, most of that debt is his. And instantly, I could hear the exhaustion in her voice, like someone who's been carrying two backpacks, hers and someone else's, for way too long. She kept talking, almost apologizing between breaths, telling me they'd been following the baby steps all year but somehow were right back where they started. And the more she explained, the clearer it became. They weren't just fighting debt, they were fighting each other's habits. Or rather, she was fighting his alone. When she finally admitted he had been using credit cards for everything, even while supposedly getting out of debt, it clicked. You can't use a shovel and a bucket at the same time and expect the hole to disappear. She was shoveling. He was scooping dirt right back in. And once she said they had $62,000 just in credit cards, the whole picture sharpened. No car loans, no student loans, just the kind of debt that comes from spending faster than you earn and hoping the bill never arrives. The house was $500,000, but the trouble wasn't the house. The trouble was the behavior living inside it. She told me they made about $162,000 a year, and that's when everything shifted. Because the problem wasn't the income. It wasn't the steps. It wasn't even the system. It was the fact that two people were supposedly running the same race, but only one was moving her feet. And then she said something that stuck with me. She said they actually cut up the credit cards last weekend. Like, physically cut them. And I could hear the conflict in her voice. Like part of her wanted to believe it was a turning point, but the other part wasn't ready to trust it yet. So I asked the question she wasn't saying out loud. Why are you still hopeless if he finally cut them up? And the truth spilled out. She wasn't just scared of the debt, she was scared of history repeating itself. 5 years of marriage, 5 years of credit card debt, 5 years of watching the number never drop. But here's the thing, she wasn't realizing. The moment those cards were gone, the game changed, because now the hole wasn't getting deeper. Now it was only a matter of shoveling. I walked her through the math, not the emotional math, the real math. $62,000 of consumer debt, $162,000 in household income. Live on $100,000, dump 62 on the debt, and in 1 year they're free. It isn't magic, it isn't theory, it's arithmetic. But arithmetic only works if both people show up to the calculator. She pushed back and said living on $100,000 didn't add up. Especially with daycare, especially with life. But I've heard that so many times, not because the numbers don't work, but because people don't want to believe they can change their lifestyle long enough to change their life. If they reset the W-4, if they pause the 401k, if they stop vacations and impulse buys, if they actually combine their finances and act like a married couple instead of two roommates sharing a mortgage, if they sit down together and say, this is our war, not my war and your war, then the math suddenly works beautifully. And honestly, I could hear not just fear in her voice, but disappointment. Disappointment in him. Disappointment in herself. Disappointment in the whole situation. But disappointment isn't a plan. Commitment is. The truth is simple. The past doesn't matter. The next 12 months do. If they lock arms, get on the same page, cut out the excuses, and throw $5,000 a month at this thing, they'll wake up a year from now debt-free, and probably wondering why they didn't do it sooner. And that's really the heart of it. People don't get out of debt because of a spreadsheet. They get out of debt because something inside them finally says, I'm done. Done with the fear, done with the arguments, done with the cycle, done with the cards. When that moment hits, when both people feel it at the same time, everything becomes possible.